has come in to replace Kevin Willis for Atlanta. He's 6'9" in his second year out of Stanford. Smith pulls it down for Indiana. Workman finds Miller. Great pass. Miller couldn't finish but was fouled.
A 3-on-2 fast break for the Pacers. A little bit late on the delivery of the pass. Reggie Miller has to come to a stop to try to deliver that. You hit him on the dead run, and he finishes strongly on the run-through layup.
So as Miller comes to the free throw line and hits the first, Kevin Willis will come back in the game. There's that goofy knee brace you were talking about.
That's more of a sleeve as opposed to a pad. You put a pad on there. All that will do is keep the joint warm.
It's like it's got a little padding in front, but not enough. Huh?
Not enough for some of these guys' sharp knees. When you wear the knee pads, you can come charging around the basket area. Not that Willis plays a passive game out there. And Willis, he's so tough. I mean, that guy's going to play if he's breathing.
Reggie Miller, one of the NBA's best free throw shooters, hits two. And the Pacers are up 11-8.
Good decision by Indiana's defense, backing off of Augman's lack of outside shooting.
Manning, a quick jump hook, and Manning off to a good start in this game. He's hit 3 of his first 4 shots. Excellent shooting by both teams to open the game.
Atlanta getting twice as many shots, though.
Miller left open.
Reggie Miller can fill it up with the best of them. You got to defend pick and roll. We saw in the Denver loss last night to Utah. You can't play pick and roll. You're not going to advance in the playoffs.
Blaylock lobs to Augman inside. It won't go. McKee brings it on the dribble. Indiana has seen Miller score its last 7 in a row. Can't hit that 3. Davis lost it. Right back to Miller. Put back by Davis.
Kevin Willis might be favoring that knee a little bit. He's the one matched up with Dale Davis. Playing a little tentative as Willis and Workman get tied up.
And a foul called on Hayward Workman of Indiana.
Offensive board work. Reggie Miller with the off-balance shot, but nobody on Dale Davis. It's not like they're posting up or running lots of plays for Dale Davis. You got to stay with him.
Greg Elo in the game for the Hawks, cut off by Smiths. Nice. Andrew Lang is also in as he puts it up and in. His first shot. Andrew Lang wastes no time. It's a 3-point game.
Dale Davis goes wild in the offensive glass, and they take contact out.
Smith's posting on Lang now. Quick turn. His fall away. Good. Blaylock all alone.
Atlanta doing a much better job. Smith's 21 shots yesterday. He's on that pace again today.
Willis, double team. Excuse me, Bill.
Different type of shots, though, for Smith. Almost everyone has been a fadeaway.
Traveling call on Danny Manning of Atlanta. They doubled Kevin Willis that time, and he quickly passed out of it. Something different from what happened in the Miami series when he was continually double teamed.
And it's how you beat the double team with your pass. Beat them before the double team gets there. Catch the defender who's coming on that double in no man's land. Get him spinning around, wondering where the ball is.
One of the unsung heroes for the Pacers, Antonio Davis, in the game. The rookie from Texas, El Paso. McKee.
Nice tip by McKee.
Kept it alive, but Dale Davis couldn't hang on, and the Hawks will get it.
Sometimes a guy like McKee will play at a different mental level than the rest of his teammates.
Indiana foul call. A hold on McKee. First on Derrick.
But you have to appreciate and respect the game that Antonio Davis brings every day. The work ethic, the skills, the hustle.
Gets the roll. Andrew Lang 2 for 2 off the Hawk bench, and the Indiana lead cut to 1.
And landed over the top.
Workman tried to lob it inside to Dale Davis, and the Pacers turn it over.
Larry Brown catches Workman's eyes and puts his fingers to his temples and says, hey, think about it. Think about it. Where's that play going?
Hayward Workman released by the Hawks. After being drafted in the second round in 1989, Danny Manning from outside gives Atlanta the lead.
The Hawks are in their rhythm. Larry Brown wants a timeout. Manning, Blaylock stroking it. The defense very effective.
So Atlanta's big guys came to play today. Danny Manning has hit 4 of 5, and the Hawks lead by 1. Larry Brown and the Pacers won Game 3 here yesterday easily by 20 points. And as the Pacers left the locker room, they had this message from their coach.
Rest, drink plenty of water, and eat right. Forget yesterday's game. It's all on the line today. If you look at back-to-back games this season, these two teams, the Hawks, 13 wins, 6 losses. The Pacers, 10 wins and 9 losses. I think the back-to-back situation here favors Atlanta. It's very difficult to come down after yesterday's emotional victory for Indiana, where Atlanta, they're just brewing with anger, ready to go.
And Atlanta has scored 6 straight points. The second chance coming up for the Pacers.
That board was so dominant.
And it pays off with a 3-pointer by Haywood Workman.
One of the most valuable weapons that Indiana has, the Davis men, Dale and Antonio. They pound the glass all day long.
Foul inside as Manning shoots.
The first play kept alive by Derek McKee. Nothing in the stat sheet for them. McKee has been criticized for his statistical accomplishments, but he makes that play happen. And the presence of mind of Davis to kick it out to a shooter.
Well, it's been tough for the Hawks to keep up with the Davises so far. They have played key, if unsung, roles in the Pacers' postseason success.
Tough not only for the Hawks, but for the rest of the NBA. This has been a phenomenal run since January for the Indiana Pacers.
Reggie Miller gets his first rest.
And you can just feel the atmosphere in Market Square Arena here. Really, the whole city of Indianapolis. The excitement, the surging, the confidence exhibited by the crowd.
Danny Manning now with 10 points as Byron Scott comes into the Pacer lineup for the first time, replacing Miller.
Bring it up one side, swing it down, drop it in. Good pass.
Smith to McKee. The big guy with a great pass, and McKee with a finish.
Indiana's set offense is really tops right now. Atlanta's got to double team and trap them to get the ball out of their rhythmic setups.
Atlanta with a second chance after the Lang offensive board. Atlanta trailing by 2. Lang hits another shot. Smith let him shoot from out there, and Lang has scored 6 points and has not missed a shot since coming in for Atlanta.
Both Atlanta's centers, Contact and Lang, are legitimate spot-up shooters from 15.
Antonio Davis, not a good-looking shot. Smits gives him another chance.
What a pass.
Again, Smits finds the cutter. This time, Antonio Davis.
Smith putting it all on display here, but Atlanta is hanging right in there.
Smits obviously inspired after a pregame talk yesterday with the big redhead Bill Walton. Hooks down another board. His 4th rebound.
I don't think that has anything to do with it. Rich Smith, the fine player in his own right, as Byron Scott loses the ball.
Mookie with a wraparound pass to Elo, but it won't count. A foul will nullify the play.
Smith's doing it all. Look how he fight for that deep position the way a great postman has to. The double team comes and just dumps it down for one jam. Always waiting. Look how he can turn and find guys and quickly deliver that ball. Creative passing.
Are you telling me that Smits was not inspired by his talk with you yesterday? After he lives in Walton, New York, for goodness sake.
If you can't be inspired with this crowd here that is so enthusiastic, you're not going to be a very good basketball player anyway.
Blaylock hits the first free throw.
Entering the Pacer lineup, number 10,
Rookie Blaylock over the first 3 games of this series. Game 2 and 3, just not enough shots. I think Blaylock and Manning should shoot 20 times apiece on his team.
Blaylock, of course, had the only triple-double of the playoffs in Game 2 of this series. Hits the 2 free throws. And it's a tie game. Vern Fleming has replaced Haywood Workman at the point for the Pacers.
Indiana is so deep.
Antonio Davis can't hit.
adds to the backcourt for Indiana. Byron Scott and Vern Fleming now put a lot of pressure on Enos Watley.
Ball ruled out of bounds, no foul. So Lenny Wilkins' team turns it over. Dwayne Farrell, Enos Watley into the game for the Hawks.
Full shot clock.
Smits stripped away by Watley, who saves it. Farrell. And Watley spinning, drops it back. No one wants to shoot.
Tremendous recovery defense. And board work. Indiana.
Manning hits or misses the shot, and Smits pulls down the rebound. Craig Elo sent sprawling, and a foul called on Indiana.
Antonio Davis getting tangled up with Craig Elo along the baseline. Elo, of course, assigned to the other team's best perimeter scorer, Byron Scott, at this juncture of the game. You want big screens, and Antonio Davis can risk a foul. You get 6 of them, no need carrying them over to game 5.
Approaching the 1-minute mark, and Indiana, with 3 subs in the game, has turned it over 3 of their last 4 possessions. Elo. Lang off the offensive board. Lang got it back. And Watley says set it up inside the final minute now.
I like what guys like Lang and Antonio Davis do in terms of getting the offensive rebound and bringing it out for the reset.
Foul called on Indiana. One of the penalty coming up for the Hawks with 53.1 remaining in the quarter.
The battle for position underneath. Derek McKee just sticks that elbow out a little bit. You got to bump cutters, but you got to do it by moving your feet, not by leading with the elbow.
Foul was the second on McKee. And Reggie Miller will come back for Indiana as McKee goes to the bench.
The 2 spots that Indiana does not have superior depth in is at the small forward position behind Derek McKee, and at the backup center. LaSalle Thompson, of course, out of the playoff with a broken hand suffered in the Orlando series.
Manning gives the Hawks a 2-point edge.
Atlanta's just allowing Indiana to run their plays. And another offensive foul.
Byron Scott is called for the Indiana foul. Things unraveling for Larry Brown here in the final couple of minutes of the first quarter. And here's a foul on Atlanta. Game being called closely, especially away from the ball. This foul on Craig Elo.
These referees are the NBA's best. They're not going to let any shenanigans get there as Craig Elo. He sets a illegal screen there on Antonio Davis. Tough to pull Davis out of there without a screen, at least of that effectiveness.
15 seconds to play in the first quarter, and a turnover as Smits lost it.
He's really bringing it down far too much.
Behind Lang was Watley's pass. It's ruled Atlanta ball. Seven seconds left in the quarter. Unpopular decision, but the Hawks get it back. Manning. Another one for Danny Manning.
The Hawks responding when they need it. And here's what the Hawks really need, is getting the ball out of the guard's hands.
Fleming misses at the horn, and the Pacers, who had the early lead, plagued by turnovers in the final 2 minutes. And Danny Manning leading the Atlanta Hawks with 14 points in the first quarter. And at the end of one at Market Square Arena, it's the Atlanta Hawks 26 and the Indiana Pacers 22. Welcome back back to Market Square Arena in Indianapolis. It's been a memorable weekend for the capital of the Hoosier State. The president was here yesterday to dedicate a memorial to Robert Kennedy and Martin Luther King. The Indy 500 time trials underway this weekend, and for the first time ever, the Indiana Pacers, in the heart of basketball country, are in the second round of the playoffs. They won Game 3, pivotal game yesterday. At the end of one, though, they trail Atlanta in today's Game 4.
Tremendous defense by Atlanta, denying Smith.
Off-balance shot by Miller. Knocked out of bounds by Manning. Indiana gets it back.
You mentioned the memorable weekend. This won't be so memorable for Pacer fans and the players if they don't win this game today. Hugely important game in the outcome of this series today. Atlanta
scored 6 in a row to end the first quarter as the Pacers turned it over 5 of their last 6 possessions of the first quarter. All since Haywood Workman, the point guard, left the game. Scott double punch. Got his own. Indiana will get a third chance.
Byron Scott had a huge game yesterday. 8 rebounds, 15 points. But like yesterday, got off to a slow start. His first couple touches in yesterday's game bobbled. Very nice pass.
Miller puts it in off the pass from Byron Scott.
Delay of game warning for Indiana. This is a careless mistake. This is like wasting those timeouts early, because you need that extra delay of game late in the game to figure out on the last second game-winning shot what the other team is going to do offensively.
Hawks with the ball, leading by 2.
Good defense by Fleming, one of the game's better point guards.
Manning shoots, can't hit. Tapped once, and Smits pulls it down. Half dozen rebounds for Rick Smits.
Really looked like Manning was hammered on that jumper.
Byron Scott, baseline.
It's impossible to gauge the meaning that Byron Scott has contributed to this young Pacer team.
Byron Scott spent 10 years with the Lakers and won 3 NBA championships.
Byron Scott, the unbelievable jumper along the baseline. How many times have we seen that? Playoff experience. Of all the players in this year's playoffs, Byron Scott, second most experienced player behind Danny Ainge.
And of course, Byron Scott had more playoff experience than the rest of the Indiana team combined.
Byron in a very difficult situation as Elo pulls the trigger for the 3.
Lead by 3. There was a key point in the season for the Pacers when Byron Scott, right after the All-Star break, got the team together and showed them his 3 championship rings. The message was, basketball is not about money, it's about championships and the love of the game.
Which he definitely has.
Elo can't hit 2 in a row. Battle for the rebound. And a foul call.
Reggie Miller says that picking up Byron Scott is the best move the Pacer franchise has ever made. This guy has shown these young players how hard you have to work. You look at Byron Scott's physique there. This is a guy that doesn't play very many minutes, yet he's in phenomenal condition. All the work he does in practice, away from the organized situations, a real leader, Byron Scott.
In his 11th season, if nothing else, that key 3-point shot he hit with 2 seconds left to beat Orlando in the first round was a dividend. Reggie Miller hits from the baseline. Miller now with 11 points to lead the Pacers.
Miller quietly bringing his team back. Smits turning the ball over far too often. As Elo just flails his way to the hoop, goes to the ground.
And Fleming is called for the foul. Atlanta Hawks clinging to a 1-point lead in Game 4.
Draft beer by the NASDAQ stock market, the stock market for the next 100 years. And by Nissan, it's time to expect more from a car.
Dan Hicks back at Market Square Arena. You might have noticed that the Pacers' Antonio Davis was wearing a bandage around his right hand. Well, just a few minutes ago, he tossed it to the sidelines. It stems from a stress fracture that he suffered last year, but he says it really affects his shooting, and he doesn't want to use it for the rest of the game. Bill?
Antonio Davis, as tough a competitor as Kevin Willis is. They're both out there, big, powerful men, fighting underneath the basket. The kind of guys you need to win NBA championships.
Time to throw those wraps away, huh?
You never want to put them on. The other team sees that as a target. They come right over there. Oh, I see. He's got a bad hand, huh?
Willis has taken off his knee sleeve after banging it earlier in the game. Here's a foul call.
Byron Scott to the foul, his second personal.
Atlanta has gotten back in control here of this game. They lead by 1. They've effectively cut down on Rick Smith's contributions. They're doubling from the perimeter and stealing the ball from him, forcing him to turn it over.
Well, Byron Scott was called for the foul. Now Reggie Miller just a few seconds later, and that's already 3 fouls this quarter against the Pacers with over 9 minutes remaining.
Small perimeter player lineup for Indiana. Fleming, Scott, and Reggie Miller playing a small forward now.
Altman cut off by Scott. Flips to Elo. The finger roll won't go. Schmitz yanks it down. Here's the outlet to Fleming. Numbers for the Pacers as Fleming has trouble handling the ball. Nevertheless, spots Antonio Davis for the slam.
You don't need good hands for that one. Fleming just serving it up.
Indiana regains the lead.
Rick Smith's defense on that last series was tremendous, though. He let Davis go for the block.
Smith challenges Willis's shot and is called for the personal foul. Fourth against the Pacers in the quarter. And on Rick Smith's.
Smith will come on the double team this time. You like to do that defensively. Force the power forward into the middle. Have the big guy, a Rick Smith here, or a David Robinson, a Keem Elijah on top of that weak side. Discourage that hook shot. The real key is to force him back into the middle, because if you let him go outside of the baseline, that's the pet move for so many of these players who have really disdained trying to develop the hook shot that Jabbar developed into the game's most valuable weapon of all time.
John Koncak back in, replacing Andrew Lang for the Hawks. After Willis hits the free throws, Atlanta up 1.
Look at Atlanta's defense, though.
Blaylock all over Fleming. Blaylock, one of the best backcourt defenders in the league on the NBA all-defensive team. Scott to Davis, and a foul.
Larry Brown was telling us before this game that one of the best things that Byron Scott has meant to this Pacer team is his ability when he runs the pick and roll or when he comes on the curl screen into the lane to dump the ball off. So many players come up thinking their own play. Byron Scott always trying to help the other guys play better.
Antonio Davis, who spent 3 years in Europe, 2 years in Greece and 1 in Italy before joining the Pacers, who had drafted him in the second round in 1990.
He didn't think he was ready for the NBA when he came out of El Paso. Of course, the Bear down there, Don Haskins, a legendary coach, developed so many wonderful players for the NBA.
Antonio, when he was a senior at UTEP, won a slam dunk contest on a 12-foot basket.
Tear it down.
Ogman with the left hand, won't go. Antonio Davis with the board.
This has not been Stacey Ogman's most memorable weekend as Koncak gets the bumping foul on Smith, who's staying very active.
Well, for a while, the Pacers had gone away from their strategy of getting the ball into Smith. Was that because he turned the ball over a few times?
Hey, if they don't get it done, don't go back to him. You can miss as well as he can, so might as well fire it up yourself. He's got to quit pounding the ball, just go straight into his shot, use his footwork more than his dribbling to get position.
Pacers trying to add to a 1-point lead. Fleming back from Smith, laid it in. Smith with excellent passing here in the first half.
That's the ultimate skill of offensive greatness.
And Blaylock answers with a tray.
Atlanta responding every time as they've done all season. They've been the league's best team in the East throughout. They're showing why right now.
And the key players on both sides performing up to standards today.
Smits in the lane. The double team comes. The give and go quickly over the top of Mookie Blaylock, who really can't affect Smits' passing ability at all, being that short.
7:24 left in the half of a tie game. NBA Commissioner David Stern and his wife in attendance at today's game, trekking cross-country to make it to Market Square. They've seen some great basketball in Chicago Friday night, in Denver yesterday, and at Market Square today. They've seen some games decided at the buzzer. And I guarantee if his hand was wrapped, he'd throw that wrap off in this game. Smits fouled.
And this game appears to be heading toward the buzzer as well. Tied at this point. Smits working it. You have to appreciate Larry Brown's persistent game plan. Just give the ball to your best players all the time. Reggie Miller, Rick Smits. Let them win it for you. Smits that time protecting it much better, using his head and his shoulders to keep the guards away.
Smits hits the free throw, and he has 5 points in the game. Had 4 shots early, but none since from the floor. Does have 7 rebounds, and I'm not sure if it was a compliment or not, but you were mistaken for the Duncan Dutchman here in Indianapolis last night. Is that a commentary on how far things have fallen?
Hey, the guy's playing great. I'm just happy to be here in Indiana.
Smits is too, the way he played after your pep talk yesterday. Blaylock off a screen, firing for his 9th point.
The state of Indiana has given the game two of the greatest influences on the game. Larry Bird and John Wooden, 2 people have had a huge impact on my life.
Well, this is basketball country. They start early with a hoop in the backyard. It's some of the greatest high school basketball in the country, and something new for the pro fans as the Pacers making it through the NBA playoffs.
Away from the ball, Reggie Miller and Craig Elo setting the pick. Oh, the good body check by Kevin Willis. If you do that early in the game, the guards don't come back and set many more screens on you.
And his teammate Craig Elo had his eyes watered by the blow to the snout.
This is not casual exercise out here. This is not a parlor game. This is about men fighting for the championship, battling for that championship. Huge stakes. The reputations, your careers on the line.
Do I sense a commentary on Scottie Pippen coming off this?
All Scottie needs to do is walk in that locker room and say, guys, I'm really sorry. I made a huge mistake. It'll never happen again. Let's get right on with it. We're in this series. It's ours to win.
Indiana has not missed a free throw. 10 for 10. For that matter, neither have the Hawks. They're 8 for 8. Indiana by 2. Blaylock all the way. Knocked out of bounds. Mookie obviously thought he belonged across town at the Speedway as he streaks down court.
The Hawks had the best record in the Eastern Conference and still have the best record of anyone left because of the performances of Mookie Blaylock. He has come to play today.
Ogman posting on Scott. Can't get the shot away. Elo can. Long rebound countered by Davis.
The power. Davis and Willis battling. And the discipline by Dale Davis.
Byron Scott fakes, steps up, but a whistle stops play. Craig Elo called for the foul, a second.
Reggie Miller taking a beating today. The way it's going to be. It doesn't get any easier.
Miller is a frail 185 pounds. Does he have the body to take this constant pounding through the course of the playoffs?
He certainly does. He's not been a player who's been injured. He takes incredible care of himself. Look at the 2 guys who were here first in the building today. Reggie Miller for the Pacers, Kevin Willis. The guys who can play all day. They work the hardest. Reggie Miller, although not a player who you'd look at and say, this guy's really durable. This guy's basically been injury-free his whole life.
It's 1 of 2. The first miss by either team at the free throw line.
And as we've seen, he takes a tremendous beating out there.
Cut off by Miller, forces his way in and scores. A rare offensive move by Stacey Augmon.
Augmon Ogman will need to develop more offensive skills as this young Atlanta team continues its climb toward the top of the NBA.
Give and go workman to Antonio Davis. Miller spotted for the tray. Bingo.
Reggie Miller pulling up for the three. Does Atlanta back in transition quickly? That's the way to attack a team. Go right back at the guy who just hit the three. But when Miller spots up for the three, the anticipation that builds in the crowd here, very reminiscent of the Boston Garden when Bird would shoot the three. The roar before the shot.
Ogman beat the defense down court for the Hawks' first fast break basket of the game.
Double screen for Miller.
Shot clock to 3. Antonio Davis.
Again, the influence of Byron Scott hitting the guy that set the screen for you. That's the shot that Antonio Davis hit to clinch the Orlando series.
Laylock can't answer. And Antonio Davis skies for the board.
They have so many weapons. Indiana.
And the Pacers will call a 20-second timeout. It comes with 4:37 left in the first half. And Indiana has reclaimed a 4-point lead at 44-40. And playoff fever continues here at Market Square Arena. Larry Brown, the much-traveled coach here in the first year at Indiana. He played against them back in the ABA days, coached against them as well, now joins the Pacers, and he's a man that has engineered turnarounds nearly everywhere he's coached.
We see with the Nets, Spurs, Clippers, and Pacers, he's been the guy. The only negative there, that was the year with the Spurs, the year before David Robinson got there, and then, of course, they went on to like a 30-game improvement. After that, Larry Brown, of course, also turned around Kansas and UCLA. Took Kansas to the NCAA championship and UCLA to the Final Four. The last time they've been there, 1980.
Which is a painful subject for you, I know. Larry Brown, college and pros, in 22 years as a head coach, has had only one losing season.
He can do it all. A player's coach. The guys put it all on the line for him each and every day. A perfectionist, a purist, Larry Brown, always driving his players for greater success.
McKee has a shot blocked by Ogman and saved by Lang. Great defensive play by Ogman.
Hard to imagine that with a swing like that, you couldn't get some part of the body.
Manning facing up, shooting through.
Manning has come big time today. Looking for the drive that time. The defense has to step back on their heels. Manning just right into the jump shot. No hesitation to his game today.
16 points on 6 of 9 shooting for Danny Manning.
Antonio Lang really defending the pick and roll well today.
Indiana's been blistering the Nets in this quarter. Davis trying to muscle it up and draws the foul. Dale Davis will step to the line.
Andrew Lang, his first personal. Dale Davis has a lot.
The Indiana Pacers, who have been so hot of late, they had so many injuries early. It was such a difficult time for them to come in with a new coach and trade away the franchise player, Detlef Schrempf, get in really an unknown quantity in Derek McKee, not the outgoing personality that so many of the stars have in this league. But Derek McKee is a guy that can really make it happen.
Dale Davis, in his 3rd year out of Clemson, led the ACC in rebounding 3 straight years, and the Pacers' leading rebounder this season. In fact, set a record. And a foul on the miss by Dale Davis. It's Antonio Davis called for a pushing foul. Number 2 on Antonio.
Antonio Davis has been so active today, it's hard to believe he just has 2 fouls. It seems like with every skirmish, he's been right in the middle of it.
If there's been a loose ball or the ball on the boards or a scrap around, you're right, Antonio has been right.
But now's the time for him to not complain, not whine, tuck his shirt in, get back right into it. These are top referees who you don't want to mess with.
Lang with the tape on his left hand misses the free throw. Antonio Davis gets a good hand as he leads the game.
And Atlanta coming right back with their press, trying to disrupt the steady flow of Indiana's set offense.
Game has been close throughout. Lead seesawing back and forth.
Lang is doing a tremendous job on Smith.
McKee blocked by Farrell and taken by Augment. Then he throws it away. Scott has it back for the Pacers.
Smith's in the post. Illegal defense.
No call. Scott for three.
Turnovers. The bane of all coaches.
Lang right around Smith to Augment, who missed. Follow won't go. Augment again. Still loose. Farrell finally down.
You've got to be able to control the ball in the defensive end. You give a team that many shots, they're going to eventually score. And what happens when one of these teams move on to the winner, Chicago, New York? Two teams that really pound that glass.
Too much interior passing. Manning comes away with a steal. Augment chases it down. Lang, the trailer, gives it up to Manning. Misses that outside shot, and nothing but white-shirted Pacers there for the rebound.
Again, the versatile offense for Indiana. McKee can handle it and run sets. Byron Scott spot up in the perimeter.
Smith's fouled by Lang. Once he catches the ball that close to the hoop, there's nothing he can do except foul.
Exactly. That's why Smith had such a huge game yesterday. Atlanta's going to take a timeout right now. Smith working so feverishly to get that position, earned 2 at the line.
Bob Costas in New York. Coming up on the Prudential Halftime Report, we'll hear from Phoenix head coach Paul Westphal. His Suns taking on the Houston Rockets in our second game of the day. By the way, game 3 of the tripleheader is, as you know, the Knicks and the Bulls. Tip-off at Chicago Stadium is 5:30 Eastern. Also at halftime, Julius Erving will give us his take on the first half of the Hawks and the Pacers. Indiana leads it by 2 as we head back to Tom Hammond and Bill Walton.
Indiana has had Rick Smith all game long trying to get him the ball. And Andrew Lang has got to come out and meet him at the foul line here, not just let him walk down the lane to get this incredibly deep position. You get a 7'4" guy down there with a jump hook like Rick Smith. You're going to be singing the blues all day long.
And so Smits, the native of Eindhoven, Holland, will step to the free throw line. Had his best scoring season during this 93-94 campaign and really came to the fore in the Pacers' first-round playoff series against Patrick Ewing and the Knicks last season. Indiana lost, but gave the Knicks a battle, and Smith really played well. And as you look forward to a possible meeting in the conference finals against Ewing and the Knicks, I think he'll acquit himself well.
Rick Smith became a man in the NBA last year in the playoffs. Off-season knee surgery slowed him down a lot, but he's come back and worked incredibly hard to get back to the top level. The Pacers are rolling at this point.
Illegal defense called on the Indiana Pacers. How significant was the loss of 30 pounds for Smiths?
Hugely significant,
so to speak.
So many times these coaches come in, they see a big guy who's sort of skinny, they try to put weight on him and bulk him up. It tears his knees apart, slows him down. Basketball is about movement and running and jumping and activity out there. You can't just be a plodder, and that's what you turn into when you put on too much weight. Develop skills and be a player as opposed to just a big guy out there.
Manning hits the technical free throw on the illegal defense call. And the Hawks trying to cut into the three-point lead. They won't do it this trip. Offensive foul called on Atlanta's Andrew Lang, his third personal.
The entire lineup on the floor for Indiana right now, they all have 2 fouls. They want to be very careful, particularly their front court key guys, because they have more depth in the back court. But Smith, Davis, and McKee do not want to pick up that third, as Lang just did for Atlanta. Good pressure by Blaylock in the backcourt.
On Vern Fleming, who's taken over point guard duties for the Pacers. That's a mismatch in quickness in favor of Blaylock.
Nice post up for McKee.
Fleming looks inside again. The shot clock moves to 5. Scott launches. Hits.
That's 2 straight games. Byron Scott, the slow start, the bobbles the first couple times, then he gets his rhythm going. The stroke is magic right now.
Approaching the final minute of the half. Altman stripped. Ball out of bounds to Atlanta. Let's go to Dan Hicks right now on the status of Kevin Willis.
All right, Tom. Lenny Wilkins just went down the bench and looked at Kevin Willis and told him to go into the game. Kevin Willis shook his head, pointed at his knee, and said, it doesn't feel good enough to go back in. So in went John Koncak. We'll watch that as the Hawks go to the locker room as well. Kevin Willis's right knee. Tom?
You saw him holding his knee on the bench. That would be a key loss for Atlanta. Happy to have Dan Hicks with us today, too, Bill, after that 7-pound prime rib that he tackled. Very impressive.
Dan can eat with the best of them.
There's the injured knee of Kevin Willis. Altman, second free throw.
Stacey Augman's got to make more offensive plays like that. Quickly right to the hoop. And again, Antonio Davis everywhere.
Indiana has been hot. They've hit 9 of their last 11 field goals.
Post up Smith. Stick with your offense.
Koncak trying to body him, so Fleming shoots from outside. Manning clears it.
You got to fill the high post in that situation. You don't want Fleming shooting that shot. That's Reggie Miller and Byron Scott's shot.
Manning. Offensive rebound, Farrell. His follow. Tapped in by Manning.
Manning and Blaylock have done everything you could possibly ask for of them today. 24 minutes to go after this last second shot. Somebody else from Atlanta has got to come as well.
Manning has 19 first half points. Final seconds of the second quarter. Miller ends the first half with an exclamation point. Miller off a screen with 3.5 seconds left. Hits the 3.
Good defense, Fleming.
Blaylock. He hit one of those against Miami in Game 5, but that one won't go. Reggie Miller and the Indiana Pacers, with the inspirational leadership of the veteran Byron Scott, have taken the lead at the end of the first half of Game 4, 55-48. The Prudential halftime report coming up next, right after these messages.
This is the Prudential Halftime Report, brought to you by the Prudential. Peace of mind. It comes with every piece of the rock.
Reggie Miller's third three-pointer of the game just before halftime gave him 18 points and the Pacers their biggest lead at 55-48. Bob Costas back along with Julius Erving. One thing has been different for Atlanta despite the fact that they trail by 7. Danny Manning with 19 points in the first half had only 13 on 3 of 12 shooting in the whole game yesterday.
Yeah, after a subpar performance yesterday in which they got blown out, I think Danny's focus this game was to come out and try to be a scorer, not try to distribute the ball, get everybody involved. And fortunately for Atlanta, even though they're down by 7 points, he was able to get 6 or 7 minutes rest in the second quarter, which should make him fresher for the second half. But they need Kevin Willis in there because, you know, he's their key rebounder. And in terms of their long-term success, without Kevin's ability to rebound, score, and, you know, be a solid defensive force in there, yeah, I think they're going to go back to Atlanta with their tail between their legs.
Well, he's troubled by the bad knee, apparently. Scored only 2 points in the first half, and Indiana has that big front line. Without Willis, the Hawks are in trouble.
Indiana's playing well, and without Willis, definitely the Hawks are in trouble. Indiana has come out. You know, they stole a home court advantage from Atlanta in Atlanta. They've come home, won by 20. And now, you know, if things go according to the way they've gone in the first half, you know, they're going to show that dominance and prove to the world that they are a legitimate playoff contender.
Okay, and they lead by 7 at the half. When we come back, we'll hear from Phoenix Suns coach Paul Westphal. That's after a message from Prudential and a word from the NBA. Indiana 55, Atlanta 48 at the half. Following the Hawks and the Pacers, we'll take you out to Phoenix for Game 4 of the Suns and the Rockets. Phoenix leads that series 2-1. Yesterday, I talked to Suns coach Paul Westphal, and we talked about what an odd series it's been, considering two of the league's best teams haven't been able to win at home. Here's Paul.
Oh, it's strange, but these teams are both strange. They're both really explosive. We both rely on an inside game supported by a lot of threes if you take away the inside game. And with threes, sometimes your scoring is going to fluctuate wildly depending on whether you're hitting them or not. And both teams are able to come back from big leads. Both teams give up leads, and we're just wild teams.
What are your thoughts on the Sonics' early exit from the playoffs?
Well, I have to say I did enjoy it, and it just shows how tough this league is. It could have happened to us last year. It could have happened to Atlanta this year, to the 8th seed. Every time you get a win in this game, you have to enjoy it, and you can't take anything for granted. It's a tough league.
Now, I know you've been around too long to take anything for granted, as you said, but this leaves you in good position because you would have home court against the Denver-Utah winner, and you still have the home court advantage despite the Game 3 loss. So Seattle taking a hike sets you guys up.
Well, we like our position, but like I said, you just have to win each game, and you can't be looking too far down the road or there won't be any road there.
I was talking with Charles Barkley last week on the air, and he said, again, no matter what happens, win the championship or not, he's leaning toward retirement because the aches and pains are getting to him. Do you take it seriously?
I really don't even listen to it. We're glad to have him for the next game. Every game we have him, we're glad we have him. And we hope he stays around a long time. But if he can't continue, then we wish him the best. But to me, the talk at this time of year just doesn't mean anything because so much can happen.
There have always been comparisons between the Western Conference style and the Eastern Conference, but this year it seems more acute. Generally speaking, the Western Conference playoffs are higher scoring, quicker pace, and although there is some rough stuff, not nearly as much as in the East. Is that coincidental the past couple of weeks, or is that typical of the difference between the conferences?
It's really hard for me to generalize. I can look at specific teams sometimes and say they play a certain style. But to say just the East plays one and the West plays the other, I mean, to say that, what do you do with a team like Orlando or even Chicago? They're not particularly a team that tries to beat you up. I think that it just depends on team to team rather than region to region.
And the most important question, Rush Limbaugh in attendance for Game 4?
Well, you know, during the week he can't make it because America needs him, but on the weekend he'll be there.
Well, we'll all be there in front of our television sets for Game 2 of our tripleheader today with Houston playing at Phoenix. Your thoughts on this?
Well, these games have been very exciting, and as you know, no league is safe in the Western Conference. And it basically has to do with the style of play. As Paul said, you know, they shoot a lot of three-pointers. And with these two teams, they both happen to be very, very good road teams. That's why they've been able to win on one another's courts. So, you know, the way that I see this panning out is that if that pattern continues, you know, as I said a little bit earlier on the inside, is we might have that 7th game, and Phoenix will be playing in Houston for a 7th game. I look for it to be a long series, Bob.
Well, you know, the Knicks did overcome a huge deficit the other night in Chicago, so this belies the style question a little bit, but generally speaking, the pace of the games in the West makes it more possible for a team that's down 18, 20 points to come back. Some of that isn't a team blowing a lead. Some of it's just the natural pace of the game. You start hitting those threes, and if the score is going to be 120, 115, you got a better chance to make it up than if it's going to be 85, 80.
Yeah, threes shoot you back into the game, or they shoot you out of it altogether. And, you know, another thing about the Western Conference basketball is that they generally, a team like the Phoenix Suns will try to outscore you. They won't try to out-defend you. And the Phoenix, many people who picked the Phoenix Suns to be the champion this year picked them because if teams were going to try to play them with their particular style of play, they were not going to be able to be successful against them.
All right, still another half left in Indiana. The Pacers leading it by 7. We'll send it back to Tom Hammond and Bill Walton after these messages from your local station.
This has been the Prudential Halftime Report, brought to you by the Prudential. Peace of mind. It comes with every piece of the rock.
Welcome back to Market Square Arena, where the Pacers have their biggest lead at halftime, 55-48. We said as the game began, the key players must deliver. And as we look at our Miller Genuine Draft halftime stats, you'll see that on both ends of the court, they have done that. Hard to fault the first half for Manning and Blaylock of Atlanta.
Manning shooting quickly and often, delivers 19 points. Blaylock, not enough shots there, but playing very well.
And the Pacers, Miller and Smits have come through as well.
Smits only took 4 shots, but he did go to the line a bunch of times. He also had 7 rebounds and 4 assists to go with his 4 turnovers. Reggie Miller, 6 for 9, strong perimeter shooting.
But the Indiana three-point attack has been significant.
And the way they attacked the three-point shot, off the pass, penetration by Fleming, Byron Scott faces up, then Reggie Miller working behind the massive screen and effective screen of Antonio Davis. The three-point shooting here today, 6 for 8. Phenomenal shooting from behind the stripe. But maybe the biggest question mark in the story for Atlanta has got to be Kevin Willis, who banged knees early on with Danny Manning. Willis with just 2 points, 0 for 2 shooting, 1 rebound. The Hawks need Willis's strong presence.
And we'll have an update on his condition when we return for the start of the third quarter, right after these messages. Pacers lead by 7, getting ready to start the third quarter of Game 4. Dan Hicks talked to Lenny Wilkins of Atlanta.
Lenny, I know you wanted to put Kevin Willis into the lineup late in the second half. He shook his head, said his knee was still hurting. What's the status for him in the second half?
Well, he hyperextended his knee. It's kind of sore. He's going to loosen up and see if he can go or not. So I'll know when we start the second half.
You held Rick Smits to just 8 points, but Reggie Miller got off and got 18 points. Any specific game plan on him in the second half?
Well, you know, he made some three-pointers. Reggie's, you know, a good player. We just have to be ready to stay up. We try and help a little too much, and we forget about these guys. But, you know, he and Byron Scott, you can't forget them. You got to stay matched up. You're not a help person when you guard them.
All right, Lenny, look for that in the second half. Tom?
All right, Dan talking to Lenny Wilkins just a few moments ago, and as the players come out to start the second half, we see Kevin Willis on the floor. He does have a black sleeve on that right knee that he banged in the first half, but good news for the Hawks. Willis is back to begin the third quarter.
And the crowd is right there driving this team. They want to move on. They realize the importance of this game.
And Workman turns it over on the Pacers' first possession. Hawks with a 3-2 break. Blaylock thought about the 3 and then backed off.
This has not been a fast break type of game. Only 2 points scored by either team. The tempo is certainly in Indiana's favor.
Manning fumbled, but was able to knock it to contact. Ragged play on both ends to start the second half. And to continue that theme, Hoffman travels.
You got to warm up at halftime. You got to be sprinting up and down the court just the last 30 seconds or so before the game starts again.
You'd be a tough coach to play for. You're on the side of that.
I like to win.
Smits turning on contact, backing his way in and unloading it. Blaylock nudged it out of bounds with 8 to shoot.
Atlanta doing a fine job shooting the gaps, rotating perfectly, anticipating where the passers are. The passer in that low post has got to see everybody on the court. Maybe a couple of ball fakes will set up more wide open guys.
Shot clock to 3 as Miller comes up short on his tray and then retrieves it.
Full shot clock reset. Get a good play here. Diagonal screen for Miller on Smits. Roll him into the post.
Here's McKee on Manning. Made the diagonal to Smits from 18. McKee hustling after it, almost got it away, but here come the Hawks.
Contact pressuring Smits on the perimeter.
Blaylock's 3 is nothing but air. Smits this time takes it on the dribble and contact with a reach-in foul. Number 3 on contact.
And both Lang and Contact have 3 fouls. Lang, of course, picked his up in the closing moments of the first half. When a big guy puts the ball on the floor, you got to put it down hard and quick so it comes back up quickly so you can get right into your play. And only 1 dribble.
Blaylock deflected the pass, but underneath A foul has been called, and Stacey Augmon is the guilty party. Number 2 on Augmon.
There's a switch defensively by Atlanta. Indiana immediately recognized it and slid Derek McKee into the low post. He's so versatile.
And that'll be the 3rd Atlanta foul in the first minute 45 of the second half.
Atlanta's got to come out with their physical play. Reggie Miller constantly moving. Hard to see that foul there. Willis just tightening his shoulder to just protect himself. Didn't look like Willis leaned or moved his feet at all.
Quick shot by Reggie Miller, won't go. Saved. Workman lays it in on the roll. McKee kept it alive.
Right on the money, Tom. McKee does so many little things. We've seen it a number of times today, tapping the offensive ball.
And his numbers aren't impressive, and that's caused some criticism. But Larry Brown has defended McKee, and you have too, for doing the little things it takes to win.
It's not about numbers. It's about winning. And Indiana has been the best team as Smith loses it again on the floor.
But Wade's down to create the jump ball.
Derek McKee, who had the slow start, out with the injured hamstring. Look at the tap here. The wide open Workman. Contact out of the play, battling Smith off the floor there. Too many guys get caught up in the numbers game.
Smith beats Contact on the tap. Pacers control, leading 57-48.
But then if you don't have the numbers, you go in for your contract and say, hey, you don't score enough. You're no good.
Smith's foul. Stacey Augmon has his 3rd foul.
When I look at Derek McKee, a guy that comes to mind is a Bobby Jones that used to play for Denver and Philadelphia. 6'9", handle the ball, pass, shoot the open shot it needed to be. It wasn't a gunning type small forward, though.
Smith hits the first free throw. He'll have another. So Derek McKee, one of the heroes for the Pacers. He has the soft hands of a baseball shortstop, which he was in high school in Meridian, Mississippi.
Centers making free throws. Guys like Smith, Olajuwon, Ewing, Robinson, they do it so well. That's why they're still in the playoffs.
Pacers with their biggest lead. Manning chips 2 off of it with a pretty shot. Danny Manning, 21 in the game.
His first real touch, though, in the second half, and we're 3 minutes into it. Blaylock has got to get the ball to Manning time and time again. The way the Pacers have gone to Smith and Miller.
Dale Davis, checked by Willis. Workman draws the double team for a moment and lobs for Smith. Blocked. Fans wanted a goaltend, but Augmon takes it the other way.
The ball had no chance of going in. It was going to be an air ball.
Willis drives for the hoop. Collision, no whistle. Davis takes it for the Pacers. Here's McKee on the break. Workman spots Smith, flashes it back outside.
The patience. They don't have the easy gimme layup on the break or the short jumper. Pull it out and get into post-up offense.
Are you surprised at the poise this team has in the second round for the first time ever? McKee, what a trade.
Not at all. Byron Scott has shown them the way. They listen to their coach, Larry Brown. This is a team that's got a lot of weapons. They're on full display right now.
NBA Inside Stuff is brought to you by MetLife. Get Met. It pays. By Warner Brothers Maverick. Starts Friday, May 20th at a theater near you. And by Oldsmobile.
Well, the Indy 500 time trials have nothing on the Pacers. They're revved up, too, in the first game of a triple-header on NBC today. 2 other playoff games to follow ours. We'll be going to Phoenix to see the rejuvenated Rockets take on the Phoenix Suns. Charles Barkley hoping for a better game to get the Suns back on track. And then, what will the reaction be when Scottie Pippen takes the court tonight? It'll be interesting to see as the Bulls host the New York Knicks. Man Danny Manning off the timeout takes it to the basket and has a chance for a three-point play.
And look at the way the Pacers and the Hawks attack physically. Manning playing a much greater level of speed and intensity than he played in game 2, of course, or excuse me, game 3. He just needs more touches. The Pacers have dictated the tempo of this game, and Manning, as brilliantly as he's been playing, has had not that much impact because they haven't given him the ball enough.
This quarter, he's 2 for 2. The rest of the Hawks 0 for 3. Concat whistled for the foul.
One thing that Rick Smith is really doing a lot in this series that he didn't do against Shaq in the Orlando series was turning and facing. Not letting the guys push him in the back. Not letting him use their size of strength. I mean, Concat and Willis and Shaq, those guys are big guys. And when you turn your back on somebody, the referee's going to let a lot of contact go.
John Concat has picked up his 4th foul, so Lang is in and Concat out. And Smits continues to hit the free throws. Pacers up 64-53. 7.5 minutes left in the third.
Fine defensive pressure by Workman.
Ogman posting on Miller. Backing his way in and losing it.
That's not really Atlanta's game. It takes Willis out of the low post, Manning out of the low post.
Manning with penetration and a pass to Lang, who hits with 1 on the shot clock.
Lang is a legitimate shooter from there, but I think the Pacers will live with that sort of strategy all game long. Dale Davis just loses the ball.
Kevin Willis was right with him defensively. Davis turns it over. So the Hawks trying to climb back into it. Down by 9.
This is when Mookie's at his toughest, when he's on the run like that, right? That's why you meet him in the backcourt.
Manning, floater. Got the roll. Danny Manning carrying the Atlanta Hawks. He has 26.
But every time he brings them back, this crowd pushes this young Indiana team.
Miller, good head fake. Finds the open Workman. Doesn't want to drive on Willis, but he gets away with it. Foul on Kevin Willis.
Danny Manning seeing that he's got to get it done. Willis hampered by the bad knee. Mookie not getting a lot of shots. This was the knock on Manning when they traded Dominique. What's he going to take enough shots? Enough big shots to carry the team through its offensive droughts that Dominique did for so many years. He's doing it today. Kevin Willis has really been the recipient of a couple of very tight fouls in this game here. That last one, Workman just drove into him. Willis over the top.
So, was this Workman's compensation?
2 free throws.
I'm sorry, it had to be said.
Very well said, too.
It's 66-57 as the Atlanta Hawks riding the back of Danny Manning. As Bill said, often maligned for disappearing in crucial situations. Not so today. Now Mitchell is in to take up the defensive assignment on Manning, and he is quickly called for his first foul. Sam Mitchell called on to try to stop Manning.
Mitchell's a good defensive player, but Manning, unlike Smith, is keeping his back. If you just turn and face these guys, swing the ball through, they got to take a step back, and then you can hit your jumper.
Manning battling for position on the high post. Dips it inside to Ogman, who got it, and a foul. Oh, they're going to say no. Ogman with the offhand cleared some space. So Stacey Ogman is called. 4 on Ogman.
As a player who based his game on defense myself, you always respect an official like Mathis who was right on those clear-out plays at the basket.
Ogman sits as the Hawks' foul troubles continue to mount.
Reggie Miller looking for the play. It's for him.
Workman lobs inside. Davis made a good catch in traffic, and he is fouled. Here's the foul trouble of the Hawks with 3 players with 4 personals each.
Smits is the guy Spitz and McKee, where they don't have the depth, we pointed that out earlier, they got to stay in the game. Spitz doesn't need to foul. He's not guarding anybody in the low post.
Adam Keith called for that foul, and the Hawks already over the limit. 5:48 remaining in the quarter.
That last pass by Workman into that lob, that soft floater into the lane to the big guy, that's the worst kind of pass to feed the big guy with. You pass to the big guys the same way you pass to the shooters like Reggie Miller. You zip it in there quickly into their face area, let them catch it and deal.
Adam Keith, who committed that last foul, takes the rebound as Blaylock pressured in backcourt and gets it across the timeline.
That's what you really like to see the big guys do. Dale Davis that time.
Elo's shot rejected. Miller leads the Indiana break. He has Workman. Got it. And Lang answers for the Hawks and one.
Twice now, Indiana has feasted with the fast break, gotten out, converted an emotional play, and Atlanta right back in it. Full court, link to the court pass, and have converted both times, negating that charge that the Indiana Pacers fans want to give their team.
Derek McKee has become the first Pacer with 4 fouls. He'll leave as Mitchell returns. And Andrew Lang has been the force, the former Razorback, averaging 6 points a game through the regular season and in the playoffs, has recorded double that, 12 today.
They generally get a lot out of either Lang or contact. The center position is not the weakness that a lot of people think that Atlanta has.
Vern Fleming spelling Workman at the point for the Pacers.
Good Manning fighting through those picks. Such versatility for a man of his size.
This is the Manning Hawk fans hoped they would see. And it'll be a goaltend on Lang as Fleming with a putback gets credit for the basket.
Fleming is so tough. He reminds me of Norm Nixon, the ex-Laker great. Impossible virtually to block their shots underneath the basket because they understand that basketball is a game of quickness.
Vern Fleming, one of the few gray beards on this Pacer team in his 10th season.
I see they got the ball out of Blaylock's hands, and now the struggle begins.
Manning lofts it up and in. Manning has been virtually unstoppable in this game, and Larry Brown is going to try to adjust his defensive strategy. Timeout Pacers, 4:25 left in the third. Indiana up 71-62. Where congratulations are in order for our partner, the big redhead Bill Walton. Tuesday night in Washington, D.C., he will be inducted into the GTE Academic All-American Hall of Fame. There are the inductees, including your coach, John Wooden, which makes this honor doubly memorable for you.
So very special because I learned at a very early age from not only my parents, but John Wooden, Jack Ramsey, Lenny Wilkins, that education is really the ultimate key to success.
Bill Walton, 3-time College Player of the Year, will be only the 3rd basketball player in the Hall of Fame, joining his former teammate Jamal Wilkes and Senator Bill Bradley. And the NBA slogan, "Stay in School," epitomized by this former history major from UCLA. Byron Scott is fouled. In fact, did you know there's another UCLA history major of a little more recent vintage playing today? Reggie Miller majored in history at UCLA.
And he's trying to make history in Indiana right now. This team obviously had the great ABA history with 3 championships, late 60s, early 70s, but it's been a big drought since then, and Reggie Miller wants to take these guys as deep as they can go in the playoffs.
Okay, so you're a history major. You mentioned the ABA success of the Pacers. Can you name for me 2 earlier NBA teams in Indianapolis? Aha! Is it too late to call the Hall of Fame?
No, I cannot.
In the 40s, the Indianapolis Jets and the Indianapolis Olympians, which were the late 40s, the nucleus formed by members of the U.S. Olympic team, which won the gold medal in London at Wembley Stadium, 1948.
Did you play for those teams, Tom?
I'm old enough, but no. Now bringing the ball up court for the Atlanta Hawks as Blaylock comes off the screen and pops it through. Blaylock now has 11 points, and the Pacer lead cut back to 9.
Indiana now without Smits, without Reggie Miller, needs Byron Scott to come through here with points.
Antonio Davis goes to the left hand and pounds it home.
This guy is a rookie. This guy played 3 years over in Europe. Now he's come back and he's killing everybody. The toughness, board play, post-up offense. Now he's got the defensive assignment of Manning. And look what he does there.
Over the top to knock it away from Manning. Antonio Davis scrapping all over the court.
The left-handed jump hook in the lane. Perfect form, technique, the soft touch, and gets it right back on the defensive end. What more could you ask for? Larry Brown will find something to ask for. That's what makes Brown such a good coach, is that he's such a purist and never settle for just being good. Wants everybody to be unbelievably great.
Blaylock for three. Came up short. Lang chases it. Can't retrieve it. Pacer ball. Lenny Wilkins, your first coach in the NBA.
My first coach on the Portland Trail Blazers as a rookie, 74, 75, 2 years. They fired him because I was hurt and couldn't play.
6 Hall of Fame coaches you played for?
Yes.
How many did you get fired?
Just Lenny.
Thank you very much. Schmitz double team, shoots anyway. Ill-advised shot. Here come the Hawks.
You got to come to the ball when you see your teammate in trouble. Manning, he's coming to the ball all game today.
Slammed in by Lang. Well, Smits took a bad shot that last time, and we thought the old Brickyard was across town. From the corner, Kenny Williams cracks the scoring column.
Williams, like Mitchell, is a player who can hit the perimeter shot, gets very little playing time.
Keefe slams, but it won't count. Elo fouled as he drove baseline. Byron Scott whistled for the personal.
4 on the Pacers, Dale Davis.
Indiana's defense, which has been so aggressive on the perimeter at this point, you got a nice lead. You got a team that's not a lot of great outside shooters. Elo can fill it up, yes, but Mookie's not out there. Play a little soft, back off, pack it in, see what they got from the perimeter.
Inside the 2-minute mark, third quarter. Keith, low post, right back to Lang. Bad looking shot. Davis with a rebound.
The quick hands of Davis on the glass.
Fleming. And a foul. Watley's called for the foul. It'll send Vern Fleming to the line. Fleming is holder of one odd NBA record. He's gone 766 games without a technical foul. How that for a little NBA trivia.
You can either be really proud of that or sort of embarrassed with that. You can go either way.
You have a count on the number of T's you were assessed?
I never got a lot of technicals. I left that to guys like McHale and Maurice Lucas.
You were just egging them on.
You got to deal with the referees. You have to have a relationship. They're human beings too. The whole psychological relationship to make sure the referees see the game the way you see it. Manning thrown to the floor by Byron Scott.
Keith with a fall away. Adam Keith. Keeping the Hawks within striking distance, approaching the 1-minute mark of the third. It's a 10-point game.
Keith's got a nice game. He's rugged underneath, a solid rebounder. Needs to learn that shots have got to go in to be effective.
Traveling on Byron Scott.
One thing that's so impressive about Indiana's team is the games that I've seen them over the last month, there's just very few lulls where they have periods where they play bad basketball.
They've been the hottest team in the NBA in the last 4 months, including the playoffs. But they can't put Atlanta away. The Hawks still within striking. Watley off balance will shoot 2.
Byron Scott to the
A lot of gambling and scrambling by the Pacer perimeter defenders. Elo had mishandled that ball. You get a double team Craig Elo? I don't think you really need to do that. Just stay at home with your guys. That's what makes the Knicks such an effective defensive team. They make you beat them with their, with your outstanding individual offense. And in today's game, where there's a virtual automatic double team every time somebody catches the ball in the low post, a lot of players haven't developed the overall offensive skills that you need.
This quarter's been played to a virtual standoff. Indiana has outscored Atlanta by 1 with 25 seconds remaining in the third.
Indiana wants to just take the first good shot they got. No shot clock advantage either way.
Williams hit one of those a moment ago. Can't get that one, and Watley comes out with it. Watley all the way. Scott conceded, and Watley scored. 4 in a row for Ennis Watley. Davis saves it in bounds. Great pickup by Williams.
They never stop.
1 second. Fleming shot blocked by Keith to end the third quarter. So the Atlanta Hawks still hanging around. They scored the last 6 points in the third quarter, despite the heroics of Antonio Davis, who has been in the middle of every play he's been in the game for the Pacers. At the end of 3 quarters, Indiana leads 78-72. We'll be back to Market Square Arena after these messages from your local station.
Retransmitted, reproduced, or rebroadcast without the express written consent of the NBA.
Start the fourth quarter of Game 4 with Indiana up 78-72. At one time in that third quarter, the Pacers led by 12, but the Hawks scored the last 6 points of the quarter, outscored Indiana by 1 in the period, and are within 6 in the game. And for the first time, basketball fans in this heartland of America have something to cheer about in May. They're used to the season being over this time, but the Pacers trying to take a 3-1 lead, trying to stem this rally by the Hawks. That's a start.
But the Pacers have fed Atlanta's style of fast breaking by taking baseline jumpers.
Bad pass by Smith. Scott saves it.
A lot of time on the clock.
8 seconds short. Scott for 3. Oh, that hurts.
Byron Scott done so many big performances for the NBA throughout the years for the Lakers, bringing that magic here.
That basket won't count, an Indiana foul, and Byron Scott is perfect. 3 times 3 from the arc. 13 points in the game.
Byron has a very tough hurdle to overcome. When he was on the Lakers, when the Lakers won, it was always magic. As Byron Scott saves the ball and then comes back with the three-pointer. But on that Laker team, if the team won, it was always Magic's victory, and when they lost, it was always Byron Scott's fault.
Scott, however, has just been whistled for his 5th foul, so he goes to the bench. Lang. Rejected. Get it out of here, Antonio Davis.
Team defense. Everybody was swiping at the ball down low. Smith the first time, then the swipe down low forces the double clutch. Shot clock.
Lang over the backboard. And the Pacers begin the fourth with renewed enthusiasm on defense.
We've been to a number of games here, and this crowd reminds me so much of the Portland Trailblazer crowd in the late 70s. It would just push you so much to limits you didn't think were possible.
This crowd is hungry. They've never seen the Pacers advance this far, and they're hoping for better things. Smith's shot blocked by Lang. Watley on the break.
Look at Davis.
Antonio kept this one in play. 3-on-1. Williams.
Again, the team defense. Workman forcing the difficult shot. Davis from the weak side, and then everybody out in transition. Williams can jump with the best of them, even though he's put on 10 or 15 pounds in the last couple of years. Throws it down, finishing nicely. It all starts with defense, though, and Antonio Davis has anchored that. The blocks for the Pacers this year, consistent throughout, better today.
Well, the Indiana Pacers are the best defensive team in the playoffs thus far, allowing 88.8 points a game. That is best among all playoff teams. The Atlanta Hawks ranking second. Atlanta is 0 for 4 to start the fourth quarter. Antonio Davis has blocked 3 shots in the quarter.
But what's good about the Pacer attack is you don't know where they're going to beat you from. It can be Reggie Miller as it was through the first half with 18 points. Rick Smith posting up. Byron Scott for 3. Antonio Davis keying the defense. Dale Davis pounding the glass.
Workman with a reach-in foul on Watley.
And we haven't even mentioned Derek McKee.
Second team foul on the Pacers. 10-11 on the clock. Indiana up 11 on Atlanta.
Lang and Smith getting into it a little bit. Mathis had to go over there and separate them. Have to keep an eye on the low post play.
Burrell, pretty shot from outside. Long range 2. Pulls Atlanta back within 9.
The difference in Atlanta's game when they just attack quickly as opposed to trying to get tricky and cute with lots of fakes, lots of pumping. Remarkable.
Workman, top of the key.
There's got to be something wrong with Kevin Willis. Lenny Wilkins would not leave him on the bench through this part of the game. Unless that knee was really bothering him. A shame to have to happen to Kevin Willis.
Williams with a board.
Pick and roll. Not there. Slide into the low post. Find Miller off screens.
There he is. Kept alive momentarily, but on the line was Davis.
Smith waits for the double team, spots up the three-point shooter. Willis, nobody blocking out. Williams throwing him down. Where's Kevin Willis?
He's on the bench, and the Hawks trail by 11.
The Rockets battle the Suns. The NBA playoffs continue next on NBC.
Both Houston and New York had 15-game winning streaks. Meanwhile, Kevin Willis, with that knee injured in the first half, continues to reside on the Atlanta bench.
Manning coming to the ball on the cross screen.
Burrell, short-armed it. Rebound by Dale Davis.
You got Dale Davis, you got Smith, Kenny Williams, all just pounding that glass. The guards putting tremendous pressure on the ball out in front.
Elo pulls up on Miller, and Smits with a board. Rick Smits with 8 rebounds. And a 20-second timeout called by the Pacers. Well, it's interesting to note that in the second half, the big guns that we applauded for their first half play, Miller and Smits, are 0 for. Miller 0 for 4, Smits 0 for 4. Smits does have 4 free throws. But in the meantime, other guys, some guys we never heard of, like Kenny Williams, like Antonio Davis, have stepped up, and a 7-point halftime lead is expanded to 11.
And that's what a team is all about. Guys carrying it. Smith and Miller got him the lead. Your top players are generally going to shoot a lot more and have to make more when they're behind, as Manning has done today. But this Indiana team has just ridden the flavor of this incredibly talented group here.
Kevin Willis, no time to wait now. Bad knee or not, he's going to come back into the game with 8:31 on the clock. A tough decision for Willis and for Lenny Wilkins throughout. Is he able to go effectively with that banged up right knee?
And does he risk hurting himself more to take him out of further games in this series and possibly another series after this? The toughest decision. Can you go or not? Been faced with it many times myself. Always difficult. Willis putting it all on the line today.
And the Hawks must win today or face a 3-1 series deficit, returning home on Tuesday.
Cross screen from McKee, deep post position.
Beautiful block. Was that Manning or Lang?
Doesn't matter. Shot clock running down.
And Miller with 4 to shoot. Promptly gets his first field goal of the second half. Reggie Miller now with 20 in the game.
Indiana really defending the pick and roll well today.
Manning turns, finds the open man, and one for Andrew Lang, the recipient of another sharp Danny Manning pass.
Atlanta has burned Indiana time and time again when they bring their 3 defenders to the ball. Just double team, don't triple team. And then when he passes, you still got enough guys to rotate defensively. Indiana has generally done an outstanding job of just sending one guy to help defensively, leaving other guys to take care of the extra advantage that the Atlanta team has had.
That's 17 points and 7 rebounds for Andrew Lang off the Hawks bench, and also the 5th personal foul on Indiana's Derek McKee. McKee and Scott with 5 each for Indiana. Here is McKee against Manning. Uses the left and will shoot 2.
Danny Manning with the foul, his 3rd.
McKee, an expert ball handler, so fluid in his game, can go either way. That left-handed hook, although it may look a little unorthodox and was really the shot that you let people take who are right-handed, he can get that to go down.
7:36 left in regulation from Market Square Arena. That free throw rims out for McKee. Derek with 7 points in the game. But as always, as Bill noted earlier, doing the little things. This is too close. I don't know about that. They have to retract that statement. 87-77, 10-point lead for Indiana.
A lot of time left. Atlanta's biggest road win of the season, with the exception of the Knicks game in the last regular season week of the season, then was here in mid-March, where they came up here and won by 3 points.
Elo follows the Blaylock miss, and the Hawks back within 8. And timeout Indiana. It comes with 7:05 left in the game. The Pacers leading the Hawks 87-79.
C is brought to you by Cold Filtered Miller Genuine Draft. Get out of the old, get into the cold. By Schick Tracer. It traces every curve on your face. And by Mitsubishi, the new thinking in automobiles.
Larry Brown, coach of the Indiana Pacers. This franchise won 3 ABA championships and a blockbuster trade in 1968. The New Orleans Buccaneers sending Larry Brown and Doug Moe, who would later become legendary coaches, to the Oakland Oaks for Steve Snapper Jones. And meanwhile, Snapper cooling his heels for the moment. He'll be on next with Dick Enberg for Game 4 of the Houston-Phoenix series at the America West Arena, with the Suns leading in the series 2-1. And they're just underway with McKee rolls it in, and the Suns have an early 4-2 lead on the Houston Rockets as their game is underway. We'll be joining it at the conclusion of this one.
Derek McKee continuing to have his way underneath the basket. Atlanta has to do a better job of keeping his possessions to a minimum.
Manning with a hook. Danny Manning. One of the biggest games of his career in a clutch situation, 30 points.
I was privileged to witness Manning's career high of 43 in the Chicago Stadium against Scottie Pippen and the Bulls. This guy can definitely do it.
Smits has been quiet. McKee for three. Oh, everything going right for the Pacers. Derek McKee with the tray. McKee, 29% in the regular season from the three-point arc.
The confidence, the poise. Much better to have talent than experience.
Elo got away, couldn't finish on the layup. McKee with a rebound. Miller, bam!
Backdraft, a special day and time.
All of you to Phoenix for the Rockets and the Suns. Houston leads it right now 11-8. There's Robert Horry hitting a three-pointer, and that's the difference. A three-point Houston lead early in the first. Back to Market Square Arena.
All right, Bob, Tom Hammond, Bill Walton, Dan Hicks at Market Square, where the Pacers looking like winners here. If they can hold on, they'll take a commanding 3-1 lead in the series over the Atlanta Hawks.
The story has been three-point shooting. Indiana 10 for 15 on the day. Reggie Miller 4 for 8. Byron Scott 3 for 3. McKee 2 for 2. And Workman 1 for 1. Phenomenal perimeter shooting. The defense, it's all fallen into place today.
That one falls out of bounds off the hand of Mookie Blaylock.
Here's the replays of the three-pointers, but look how they get him. Penetration and spot up. Then McKee gets the rebound off. A horrible miss by Elo. And up the court transition basketball. Reggie Miller spotting up.
You want to win championships, you need a man like Derek McKee on your team. He had the three-point shot. He's 2 for 2 in that range. He had the rebound, and he had the assist.
Interesting thing was that when they made that trade, everybody in Indiana thought that they were just giving up and conceding that nothing was going to happen, that Schrempf wanted to go be part of the Sonics, and it's worked the other way.
Blaylock releases. Elo stops him, and Workman rejects. Take that, Atlanta.
This is a guy, Workman, who was waived by the Atlanta Hawks. See you later.
The Pacers feeding off this crowd. Only Danny Manning has kept the Hawks respectable today. 32 for Manning.
Atlanta not only has to score points, so they've got to find a way to play some defense. The Pacers just playing at a different level right now with so many guys playing well. And they're resting Smith. So if Atlanta is able to come back, narrow this lead, they just bring back their big power guy inside. The Hawks in serious foul trouble across the front line. Willis apparently will not be that much of an offensive factor down the stretch, playing with that hobbled knee.
Manning just settled a moment ago with his 4th foul, tried fronting the man that time. They just lobbed it over his head.
How about the pinpoint pass by Derek McKee?
Antonio Davis, 14 points in a reserve role for Indiana. Willis misses a 3. Hawks get it back.
The frustration by Kevin Willis, a proud performer, relegated to a limited role today because of an early game injury, just over the top.
McKee with another great pass.
Defending the pick and roll. Do the simple things consistently.
Davis knocked it away, and Miller will back it out.
Play a little bit of clock. Dictate the tempo. Their decision-making on pulling out of the fast break, as good as we've seen in the NBA this year, a year that has not seen a lot of fast break basketball.
McKee can't handle that pass from Miller. But Derek McKee challenged a little bit after game 2 by Coach Larry Brown, and has he ever responded?
Derek wasn't the only guy challenged. Larry Brown was in everybody's face. When you get beat by 20 after after you've won 12 straight. Time to wake up and realize what got you there.
Coach doesn't have much leverage, though, when you're winning all the time. Don't forget, we'll be joining the Suns and the Rockets later on. First quarter score, Houston up 1, trying to win 2 in a row at America West after losing the first 2 at the Summit.
When Vernon Maxwell, we've seen them play before so many times, when Vernon Maxwell shoots the ball, Houston can win every game they play because Hakeem always dominates the middle.
Workman called for traveling. That'll turn it over to Atlanta with 3:09 on the clock. Pacers enjoying a 14-point lead.
Atlanta's got to virtually score every time and shut down the Pacers. But the Pacers are showing no signs of slowing down or playing the clock themselves.
Pacers have hit their last 5 in a row. Atlanta shows no sign of stopping them. Danny Manning. He's erasing a lot of doubts today, even though it's apparently going to be in a losing cause. 34 points.
But the scoreboard is the ultimate judge.
Hawks desperately need that stop you were mentioning. Workman for 3. Rebounded by Lang and a push inside on Andrew Lang of Atlanta.
The Hawks have played with a lot of spirit and fight today. They've just run into a team that's rolling and on fire right now.
How do you assess their chances if they go down 3-1?
They've got to take control physically of this series.
Well, they've got an uphill battle in this one. Timeout, Indiana.
And later today, the Bulls try to stay hot in Game 4 against the Knicks. The playoffs continue next on NBC.
Bob Costa's back in New York. Here's a look at what's happening in Phoenix. It'll be Dan Marley here off the Kevin Johnson pass. Unleashes the 3, rattles it around, then off the glass and back in. And Phoenix at this early stage leads 18-16. Back to Indianapolis.
All right, Bob. 2:28 left, 97-85 Indiana, and for Atlanta, it's rare but not impossible to come back from a 3-1 series deficit. It's been done these times. I know that Boston, Philadelphia is meaningful to you.
And certainly to Dr. J as well, who never likes to see those type of things pop up on the screen. But what Atlanta has to do is, for them to get back into this series, is change the tempo, because you got a steamrolling team in Indiana. And really, Manning's the only guy that played well today. Mookie Blaylock, 4 for 12 shooting, got 11 points, but only 2 rebounds and 5 assists. He's their catalyst, the man that makes it happen. He has to get everybody involved.
In fact, Manning should sue the rest of the team for non-support. He's hitting 70% of his shots, 14 of 20. The rest of the team, 20 for 58, just 34%. 2 minutes. Blaylock missed everything. McKee has it.
And everything that Atlanta tries, Indiana has a counter to. When they try to deny the advance of the ball with Workman or Miller, Derek McKee brings it up.
Playoff fever continues to reign in Indianapolis. The 500 put on hold for the excitement of the Pacers. Miller called for steps. They'll turn it over with 1:31.
Indiana wants to finish strong here. Don't give Atlanta any hope that they can turn this back around. Atlanta, though, has to play throughout, put some sort of pressure on Indiana.
Well, despite their late season heroics, the Indiana Pacers were not mentioned as a potential NBA championship contender when the playoffs began. Have you changed your mind about that?
I've liked this team from the day they signed Larry Brown. Wherever Larry Brown goes, they've got a chance to win. When I came in here years ago to work with Rick Smits and a number of the other guys, I saw tremendous potential. To me, though, the real key has been the board work. Possession of the ball is what results when you get guys that pound the glass.
McKee pounds it for his 8th rebound.
When you get guys like Dale Davis and Antonio Davis who are willing to play that role and just hit that glass, then you get your pretty guys, your Reggie Miller, your Rick Smits, your Derek McKee. They can play their game.
Indiana has out-rebounded Atlanta 37-30 today. They're going to be, no, they'll say 1 second on the shot clock, and Indiana will get it back. 56 and a half left on the game clock. Another key to victory for Larry Brown today, stopping the Hawks' fast break. They've gotten only 6 points off the break in the game.
And isn't that really Atlanta's style of play? They basically have to get up and down the court. Wide open game. That's how Stacey Augmon is going to play well. That's when Willis plays his best, when he's dunking the ball in transition and pounding the offensive glass himself. This is not a real efficient set offense team, Atlanta. And their defense, Atlanta's defense, has not been able to generate the turnovers. So you got to give the credit to the ball handling abilities of Indiana.
All right, all the bookkeeping straightened out, and Indiana gets it with 1 second to shoot. McKee will trigger it in. Smith's calling for it. Instead, it's Davis. Got the shot and made it. Welcome to the playoffs.
There's nothing more to say after that.
Is this a team of destiny or what?
1 second on the shot clock, running away from the basket to your left, turn and fire. Antonio Davis, basically your under the basket scorer, rebound man, defender.
And as he went back up court, he was saying, so what's the big deal? Miller. And there's smart play again. The clock is their ally. It's out of range now. 100-86 in the final 30 seconds. When it rains, it pours.
And it's rained all weekend in Indianapolis.
Final seconds. The celebration is on at Market Square Arena.
So they bring Rick Smits in to mop up.
That's it. The Indiana Pacers win 102-86 to take a 3-1 series lead on the